15 military academies want to implement your methods, Palmer told Katie. 23 others are watching closely. The Kavari High Council is divided on whether to allow widespread 5 years past. Katie Morrison stood in the same training hall where everything had begun, but it looked different now. The walls still bore the marks of claws and weapons, but new additions had appeared. Along one wall, benches had been installed where cubs could sit during rest periods. A section in the corner held supplies for treating minor injuries with gentleness rather than just efficiency. Small changes, but they represented something much larger. The cubs training today were not the same ones Katie had met 5 years ago. Those cubs were now young adults, serving in various positions throughout the Kavari military. Zix had graduated at the top of its class and was training to become an instructor. The others had scattered to different posts, but Katie still received messages from many of them. These new cubs were different from the start. They had grown up hearing stories about the human who changed everything. Some of their parents had specifically chosen this training facility because of Katie's presence. They came to the program already knowing that strength and compassion could exist together. Sergeant Thaxil stood at the front of the formation, leading drills. His methods had evolved over the years. He was still demanding, still precise, but he no longer relied solely on harsh criticism. He corrected mistakes with explanation. He praised improvement. He treated the cubs as individuals while maintaining discipline. Other instructors had learned from his example, and the changes spread. Katie watched from the floor now instead of the observation platform. That had changed in the second year, when the Kavari High Council officially recognized her position as Cultural Development Advisor. She worked directly with instructors and cubs, no longer just an observer, but an integrated part of the training program. The morning drill ended. Thaxil dismissed the cubs for their break. They moved to the benches, grabbing water and sitting down to rest. Katie walked over and several cubs greeted her enthusiastically. She knew their names, their strengths, their struggles. She had learned to read Kavari body language as well as human. She could tell which cubs had difficult mornings and which ones were riding high on success. "Captain Katie," one cub called out, "can you watch my blade work later? I cannot get the third form right." "I'll watch," Katie promised, "but I bet Instructor Thaxil can explain it better than I can." "Have you asked him?" The cub looked uncertain. "He is very busy. He's never too busy to help cubs learn." "Go ask him." "I'll come with you if you want." They walked together to where Thaxil was reviewing notes on his data pad. The cub asked its question hesitantly. Thaxil put down the pad immediately and demonstrated the proper form, slowly and clearly. He made the cub try it 3 times, correcting small details each time. When the cub got it right, Thaxil nodded approval. "Better. Practice that 50 times before tomorrow. You will have it mastered soon." The cub returned to the benches with a glow of pride. Katie stayed behind with Thaxil. They had worked together for 5 years now, and the old sergeant had become something like a friend. "You have trained me well," Thaxil said quietly. "I no longer need you to show me how to encourage them." "You never needed me," Katie replied. "You just needed permission to be kind. Your warrior culture told you kindness was weakness. It was wrong. It was all we knew." Thaxil looked at the cubs resting on the benches. "I have a grandson now. He is 3 years old by your counting. When he is old enough for training, I want him to learn the way these cubs learn, not the way I was taught." Katie felt warmth spread through her chest. This was why she had stayed for 5 years despite numerous offers to return to Earth or transfer to other posts. These small victories, these incremental changes in how an entire species viewed their young, this was worth staying for. "Your grandson will have an excellent instructor," Katie said. "You've become one of the best teachers I've seen, Kavari or human." Thaxil made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Praise from you still feels strange, but I am learning to accept it." Later that day, Katie met with Commander Vexthal in his office. The commander was preparing to retire after 42 years of military service. His replacement would arrive next month. They were discussing the transition and what it meant for the programs Katie had helped create. "The new commander is young," Vexthal said. "She was trained in the old ways but has studied the new methods extensively. She supports your work." "That's good to hear." "Katie," Vexthal said, using her first name as he rarely did. "I need to tell you something. 5 years ago, when you walked onto that training floor, I thought it was a disaster. I thought you would damage relations between our species. I thought you would weaken our cubs, I know. I could see it in your face and what I was wrong about everything. The cubs you influenced have become exceptional warriors. More than that, they have become leaders, teachers, innovators. They think differently than previous generations. They solve problems creatively. They work together effectively. And they do not see gentleness as weakness. You have changed my species, Katie Morrison. Not in a generation or two. Now. In 5 years, you have started a transformation that will echo through Kavari culture for centuries. Katie felt tears prick her eyes. I just treated scared cubs with kindness. Anyone could have done it? No, Vexthal said firmly. Not anyone. Humans could have done it, perhaps, but only humans. Your species has a gift we lacked. You shared that gift freely, without asking for anything in return. That is what makes it powerful. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Vexthal handed Katie a datapad. These are reports from the 73 military facilities that have now implemented programs based on your methods. The results are consistent. Better combat performance, better teamwork, better adaptation to stress, lower rates of training injuries, higher rates of retention. The traditional methods produced warriors. Your methods produce better warriors. The evidence is overwhelming. Katie scrolled through the reports. 73 facilities, thousands of cubs learning to be both strong and compassionate. It was more than she had ever imagined when she knelt down in front of one frightened cub 5 years ago. The Kavari High Council has made a formal decision, Vexthal continued. They are adopting the integrated training methods as the new standard across the Empire. All facilities will transition over the next 3 years. They want you to help train instructors. They are offering you a position as Director of Cultural Development for the entire Kavari military. Katie sat back, stunned. That's a huge responsibility. Yes, it is also a great honor. No human has ever held such a position in Kavari society. They are recognizing that what you bring is valuable enough to warrant unprecedented access and authority. I need to think about it, Katie said slowly. I'm just one person. Training instructors for an entire empire is enormous work. You would have a staff, human and Kavari both. Dr. Brennan has already agreed to join the team. 3 other human psychologists have volunteered. We would assign 50 Kavari instructors to work with you. You would not be alone in this. Katie looked at the datapad again. 73 facilities, soon to be hundreds. Thousands of cubs learning a better way. The chance to influence an entire civilization's approach to raising children. It was overwhelming and terrifying and wonderful all at once. Can I give you an answer in a week? Of course. This is not a decision to make quickly. That evening, Katie returned to her quarters and called Earth. Her mother answered, face appearing on the screen with a bright smile. They talked for an hour about small things and large things. Finally, Katie explained the offer. That's incredible, honey, her mother said. But do you want to do it? You've been away from Earth for 5 years already. We miss you. I miss home too, Katie admitted. But I feel like this work isn't finished. There's so much more to do. These cubs need what I can offer. Not just me personally, but what humans understand about caring for young ones. I can't walk away from that. Her mother smiled, that warm, understanding smile Katie remembered from childhood. You were always like this. You brought home every stray animal, every hurt bird, every lost kitten. You couldn't see something that needed help without stopping. I guess alien cubs aren't that different from hurt birds, Katie laughed. I guess not. Do what your heart tells you, Katie. You'll make the right choice. The week passed quickly. Katie observed training sessions, talked with instructors, spent time with cubs. She watched how they responded to encouragement, how they blossomed under patient teaching, how they learned to be strong without being cruel. She thought about what would happen if she left, if she went back to Earth and left this work unfinished. She couldn't do it. She couldn't walk away from cubs who needed what she offered. It was that simple. Katie accepted the position. The announcement was made through official channels. Her title was Director of Integrated Development for Kavari Youth Training. Her mission was to help transform how an entire species raised its young. The work would take years, maybe decades. But Katie had learned that the most important work often took time. On her last day as the advisor for Sentinel-7, Katie visited the training hall one final time. Thaxil had arranged a ceremony. Kate Morrison stepped off the transport ship and looked around Station Valyria. The place was huge, bigger than anything she had ever seen back on Earth. Metal walls stretched in every direction, and the ceiling was so high she could barely see it. Aliens walked past her in groups, talking in languages she did not understand. Some were tall and made of crystal. Others looked like giant insects. A few were swimming in tanks of water on wheels. She gripped her bag tighter. This was the Interspecies Military Academy, and she was the first human student to attend in 3 years. Most people back home thought humans did not belong here. They said humans were too new, too weak, too different from the other species in the Galactic Coalition. Kate wanted to prove them wrong. A creche officer met her group at the entrance. The creche looked like a praying mantis, but much bigger, with armor plates covering her body. Her name was Clickraiser, and when she spoke, her mouth parts made clicking sounds between words. "Follow me," Clickraiser said. "Today you will see the Xenobiology Wing. This is where we keep dangerous animals from different worlds. You must follow all safety rules. Some of these creatures can kill you before security arrives." The group of 20 new cadets walked through long hallways. Kate noticed the other cadets stayed away from her. They whispered to each other and looked at her with strange expressions. She was used to it by now. Humans were strange to them, just like they were strange to her. The Xenobiology Wing was colder than the rest of the station. They passed rooms with thick glass walls. Inside were creatures that made Kate's heart beat faster. A thing with too many teeth. A plant that moved like it was hunting. A bird made of living fire. The final exhibit, Clickraiser announced, stopping at a large viewing area. "These are Vralith cubs. Vraliths come from a death world in the outer reaches. Even as babies, they are extremely dangerous. Adult Vraliths have never been tamed. These 3 have hurt several handlers already." Kate pressed closer to see. Behind the glass were 3 animals that looked like big cats, but with 6 legs instead of 4. Their fur was black as space, and their eyes glowed amber in the dim light. They had claws as long as her fingers and teeth that looked sharp enough to cut metal. The cubs prowled around their cage, snarling at each other. "They establish dominance through combat," Clickraiser explained. "They recognize only strength. No species has successfully trained them. We study them to understand pack behavior, but they remain wild." One of the cadets, a Velaran in a water-filled suit, moved closer to the glass to get a better look. His helmet bumped against a control panel on the wall. Red lights started flashing. A loud alarm began to ring through the room. "Back away," Clickraiser shouted, but it was too late. The glass wall slid open. The containment field died with a sound like breaking glass. The 3 Vralith cubs stood still for 1 second, looking at the open space. Then they charged into the viewing area. Everyone screamed. Cadets ran in all directions, pushing and shoving to get away. The cubs were fast, much faster than Kate expected. They split up, each one chasing different targets. Their snarls filled the air, mixing with the alarm and the screams. Clickraiser was calling for security on her communicator, but her voice sounded scared. One of the cubs jumped at a group of Xanthari cadets, scattering them like leaves. Another one cornered 2 creche cadets against a wall. The biggest cub saw the Valoran who had triggered the release. The cadet had fallen on the floor, his water suit cracked and leaking. The cub lowered its head and bared its teeth. Its eyes glowed brighter. It was going to attack. Kate did not think about what she was doing. Her body just moved. She ran toward the cub and put herself between it and the fallen cadet. Then she did something that felt right, even though it made no sense. She dropped to one knee, making herself lower than the cub. She looked directly into its amber eyes. The animal was close enough that she could feel its breath, hot and wet on her face. Its teeth were right there, inches from her throat. "Calm," Kate said. Her voice was quiet but firm. She did not shout. She did not show fear. She just said the word like she knew it would work. The cub stopped snarling. Its ears, which had been flat against its head, came forward. It tilted its head to one side, studying her. Then slowly it lowered its body to the ground. It pressed itself against her legs, and a deep rumbling sound came from its chest. Not a growl. Something else. Something almost like a cat's purr, but deeper. The other 2 cubs stopped chasing cadets. They looked at the biggest one, then at Kate. They walked over and lowered themselves too, one on each side of her. Within seconds, all 3 deadly predators were lying at her feet, looking up at her with half-closed eyes. The room went silent except for the alarm. Every cadet stared at Kate. Clickraiser's mandibles hung open in shock. Nobody moved. Security officers burst through the door carrying stun weapons and nets. They stopped when they saw the scene. Kate was sitting on the floor with 3 Vralith cubs arranged around her like pet dogs. The cubs were not attacking. They were not even moving much. They just stayed close to her, calm and peaceful. "Do not move, cadet," one security officer said slowly. "We will tranquilize the animals." "No," Kate said. She put her hand on the biggest cub's head. It leaned into her touch. "They are calm now. They will not hurt anyone. That is impossible, Clickrazor said. Rayleiths do not calm. They do not submit. They only know aggression and dominance. Well, these three are calm, Kate said. She looked at the cubs and they looked back at her. She could see intelligence in their eyes. They were not mindless beasts. They were smart, and right now they trusted her. The security team carefully sedated the cubs and carried them back to their enclosure. They checked Kate for injuries, but found nothing, not even a scratch. The cubs had not hurt her at all. As Kate stood up and brushed off her uniform, she saw all the other cadets staring at her. Some looked amazed. Some looked scared. A few looked angry, like she had done something wrong. Clickrazor approached her slowly. Cadet Morrison, you will report to Commander Vex's office immediately. What you just did should not have been possible. The commander will want answers. Kate nodded, but inside she was just as confused as everyone else. She did not understand what had happened. She had just known somehow that speaking calmly would work. She had felt what the cub was feeling and knew what it needed to hear. As security led her away, she looked back at the viewing area one more time. Through the repaired glass, she could see the three cubs. They were all looking at her, their amber eyes following her movement. The biggest one put one paw against the glass. Kate had come to the academy to prove humans belonged in the coalition. She had no idea that she had just changed everything. Commander Vex's office was cold and bare. The creche officer sat behind a metal desk, her compound eyes fixed on Kate. Those eyes saw everything, every small movement, every breath. Kate stood at attention, waiting. Cadet Morrison, Vex said, her mandibles clicking slowly. In 30 years at this academy, I have never seen what you did yesterday. Those Vralith cubs have killed trained handlers. Scientists have studied them for decades without success. Yet you spoke one word and they obeyed. Explain. Kate kept her eyes forward. I cannot explain it, Commander. I just knew what to do. Knew, Vex repeated. The word hung in the air. That is not an answer. That is an excuse. Yes, Commander. I am sorry, Commander. Vex leaned forward. You are not in trouble, Cadet. You saved lives yesterday. But now we need to understand what happened. Starting today, you will undergo testing. Scientists from across the coalition want to study this ability. You will cooperate fully. Dismissed. The next morning, Kate reported to a new laboratory in the medical wing. Dr. Krell was waiting for her. The Valoran scientist floated in a clear tank filled with water, her tentacles moving slowly as she worked on a data pad. Good morning, Kate, Dr. Krell said through a speaker on her tank. Please sit down. I know this is strange for you. Let me explain what we are doing here. Kate sat in the chair provided. The lab was full of equipment she did not recognize. Screens showed graphs and numbers. Cameras pointed at her from different angles. Humans are persistence hunters, Dr. Krell explained. Your species evolved to chase prey over long distances. You learned to read animal behavior to survive. But what you did with those cubs goes beyond normal hunting instincts. We need to understand how far this ability extends. Over the next week, they ran test after test. They showed Kate videos of animals from different worlds and asked her to describe what the animals were feeling. She was right every time. A creature from the ice planet Vex 7 was scared, not angry. A flying predator from the jungle world of Karis was protecting babies, not hunting. A pack of beasts from the desert regions was playing, not fighting. Her accuracy rate is 98%, Dr. Krell told the other scientists. She reads their body language perfectly. But there is more to this than observation. The next test was direct contact. They brought in a Morkath pack beast, a huge animal with armor plates on its back and teeth that could crush bones. Morkaths had never shown submission to any intelligent species. They were used as guard animals because they attacked everything that moved. Kate entered the testing area. The Morkath growled at her, its eyes locked on her body. It took a step forward, testing her. Kate did not run. She did not back away. She looked at the animal and understood what it needed. You are scared, she said softly. This place is new. These smells are strange, but you are safe here. The Morkath stopped growling. Its ears came up. It took another step forward, but this time it was not aggressive. It sniffed her hand. Then it sat down and waited, watching her with intelligent eyes. The scientists in the observation room could not believe it. Dr. Krell's tentacles moved rapidly, recording everything. They brought in other animals. Sentry hawks that attacked anything that moved landed on Kate's shoulder without trying to hurt her. A juvenile spikeback, classified as universally hostile, let her walk right up to it. A pack of thermal seekers known for their aggression circled her peacefully. It is not just that she calms them, Dr. Krell reported to the Academy Board. She communicates with them. She understands their needs, their fears, their intentions, and they recognize her as something safe, not prey, not threat, something different. News of the test spread through the Academy. Other cadets started calling Kate the Beast Girl behind her back. Some avoided her in the hallways. Others stared at her with open curiosity. A few asked for her autograph, treating her like some kind of celebrity. Kate hated the attention. She just wanted to be a normal cadet, attending normal classes, training to be a normal officer. But she was not normal, and everyone knew it. Captain Zara Quinn, one of 3 humans on the station staff, found Kate sitting alone in the observation deck one evening. The older woman sat down next to her without asking. "I heard about the tests," Quinn said. "Pretty impressive stuff," Kate shrugged. "I guess. You do not sound happy about it." "I came here to learn," Kate said. "To be a soldier, not to be some kind of circus act." Quinn smiled. "I felt the same way when I first joined. Humans always feel like we have to prove ourselves twice as hard as everyone else. But Kate, what you can do is special. It could change how the Coalition operates." "That is what I am afraid of," Kate admitted. "What if they only see me as a tool? What if they only care about what I can do, not who I am?" Before Quinn could answer, both their communicators beeped. A message from Commander Vex. "Report to the main conference room immediately." The conference room was full when they arrived. Academy officials sat on one side of the long table. Military officers sat on the other. At the head of the table was Fleet Admiral Cortez, the highest-ranking human in the Coalition military. Kate had never met him before. She had only seen his picture in training materials. "Cadet Morrison," Cortez said, standing up. "Thank you for coming. Please sit down. We have important matters to discuss." Kate sat, feeling Quinn's reassuring presence beside her. The Admiral looked tired, like he had not slept in days. "The Coalition faces a problem," Cortez began. "Every member species has combat animals, war beasts, biological weapons, but we cannot coordinate them. Each species' animals only respond to their own handlers. In battle, this creates chaos." He pulled up a hologram showing a battlefield. Different colored dots represented different species and their war beasts. They were scattered, uncoordinated, sometimes fighting each other instead of the enemy. "Until now, we thought multi-species coordination was impossible," Cortez continued. "Then you came along. You can communicate with animals from different worlds. You can calm them, direct them, make them work together. This changes everything." Kate felt a cold weight in her stomach. She knew where this was going. "We want to create a new program," Commander Vex said, taking over the presentation. "The Xenofauna Integration Initiative. You would work with dangerous creatures from multiple species, testing whether your ability can be used in combat situations." "You want to make me a weapon?" Kate said quietly. The room went silent. Several officers looked uncomfortable. Admiral Cortez met her gaze directly. "I want to give you a choice," he said. "This program would be voluntary. We will not force you, but I will be honest with you, Cadet. What you can do is unique. It could save lives. Coalition lives. Human lives, but only if you choose to help." Kate looked at Captain Quinn. The older woman gave her a slight nod. The decision was hers alone. She thought about the Vralith cubs, about how they had trusted her, about how scared they had been until she calmed them. These animals were not evil. They were not monsters. They were just creatures doing what their instincts told them to do. If she could help them, if she could give them purpose while keeping them safe, was that not better than leaving them locked in cages? "I will do it," Kate said. "But I have conditions." Admiral Cortez raised an eyebrow. "Go ahead. These animals will not be treated as weapons. They will be treated as living beings with needs and feelings. They get proper care, proper food, proper rest. If I think any of them are being harmed or mistreated, I walk away. Immediately." Cortez smiled. It was a tired smile, but genuine. "Agreed, we will put that in writing. Welcome to the Predator Program, Specialist Morrison." "Specialist?" Kate asked, confused. "Your new rank," Commander Vex explained. "We cannot have you leading combat units as a cadet. You will receive a field commission with a unique designation. You will work with a specialized team including Dr. Krell, a Kresh combat trainer, and Captain Quinn." Kate felt the weight of what she had just agreed to. Her simple dream of attending the academy had become something much bigger. She was no longer just a cadet trying to prove herself. She was now the center of a program that could change how the entire coalition military operated. That night, Kate lay in her bunk, unable to sleep. Through her window, she could see the stars beyond the station. Somewhere out there was Earth, her home, her family. They had no idea what she had become. She closed her eyes and thought of the Vrelith cubs. Tomorrow she would see them again. They would be the first members of her new unit. The first test of whether this crazy idea could actually work. And despite her fears, despite her doubts, she felt a small spark of excitement. Maybe this was what she was meant to do. Maybe this was how humans would prove they belonged among the stars. The facility they built for the Predator program looked like nothing else on Station Valeria. Different sections held different environments. One area was hot and dry like a desert. Another was cold with artificial snow. A third was humid and filled with jungle plants grown under special lights. At the center was a large training arena where Kate would work with her units. Security measures were everywhere. Triple locked doors, armed guards at every entrance, medical teams on constant standby. Everyone remembered what happened when the Vrelith cubs got loose. Nobody wanted that to happen again. Kate stood in the main training area on her first official day. The 3 Vrelith cubs would arrive soon. They were bigger now, almost full-grown. She had not seen them since the incident, and she wondered if they would remember her. Dr. Krell floated nearby in her mobile tank. "Are you nervous?" the Valoran scientist asked. "Yes," Kate admitted. "What if it does not work this time? What if that day was just luck?" "Then we learn from it," Dr. Krell said. "But I do not think it was luck. I think you have a gift, Kate. Trust yourself." The doors at the far end opened. 3 handlers in protective armor led the cubs in on reinforced chains. The cubs were pulling and snarling, fighting against the restraints. Their amber eyes blazed with anger and fear. The handlers looked terrified despite their armor. "Release them," Kate said. "Are you certain?" one handler asked. "They have been aggressive all morning. They injured a handler yesterday." "Release them," Kate repeated. "They are scared because you are treating them like enemies." "Let them go." The handlers looked at each other, then at Dr. Krell. The scientist gave a small nod. Slowly, carefully, they unhooked the chains and backed away quickly. The 3 cubs stood in the center of the arena, tense and ready to fight or run. Kate did not move. She stood quietly watching them. She could see the fear in their body language. The way their ears kept swiveling, listening for threats. The way their tails twitched, showing uncertainty. They were in a strange place with strange smells, and they did not understand what was happening. "I know you remember me," Kate said softly. "I remember you too." The biggest cub, the one who had first responded to her, took a step forward. His ears came up. His eyes focused on her face. Then he made a sound, a low chirp that was nothing like the snarls from before. Kate knelt down and held out her hand. "Yes, it is me. I told you that you were safe. I was not lying." The big cub walked over to her slowly, sniffing her hand. Then he pressed his head against her palm and made that deep rumbling sound she remembered. The other 2 cubs came over, one on each side. They surrounded her, and she felt their warmth, their trust. "We are going to call them Shadow, Storm, and Ghost," Kate said, looking up at the observation window where officials were watching. "They need names. They are not just test subjects. They are my team." Over the next weeks, Kate spent every day with the cubs. She learned their personalities. Shadow, the biggest, was careful and thoughtful. He always checked for danger before acting. Storm, the middle one, was aggressive and competitive. She wanted to be first at everything. Ghost, the smallest, was clever and observant. He watched everything and learned quickly. Strike Fast, the creche combat trainer assigned to the program, watched Kate work with growing frustration. The creche had bred and trained war beasts for thousands of years. They had techniques, protocols, proven methods. Kate ignored all of them. "You are not training them," Strikefast said one day, his mandibles clicking rapidly. "You are playing with them. This is not how combat beasts are prepared." Kate was sitting on the floor of the arena. Shadow had his head in her lap. Storm was chewing on a practice target. Ghost was watching everything from a high ledge. "I am not training them," Kate agreed. "I am communicating with them, teaching them that we can work together. That cooperation helps everyone, but how?" Strikefast demanded. "What are you doing that we cannot do? The creche have trained war beasts for millennia. You are doing nothing we recognize, yet it works," Kate tried to explain. When Shadow moves his ears that way, I know he is uncertain about something. When Storm's tail twitches, she's about to test her limits. When Ghost goes completely still, he is processing new information. I just understand what they are telling me. But that is impossible, Strikefast said. They are not speaking. Yes, they are, Kate said. Just not with words. Everything about them speaks. Their posture, their movements, their sounds. I just listen. The real test came during their first combat simulation. Strikefast had set up a scenario with automated drones. The Cubs would need to work together to take down the targets. Previous tests with Vraliths had failed because the creatures could not tell friend from enemy once they started hunting. Kate entered the arena with the 3 Cubs. They looked around, alert and focused. The drones activated, filling the air with hostile targets and loud sounds meant to confuse predators. Kate did not give commands in any language the others would recognize. She did not shout orders or point. She just moved, and the Cubs moved with her. Her body language flowed naturally, and they understood every signal. When she shifted left, Shadow went left. When she crouched low, they all crouched, waiting. When she straightened up and looked at a target, all 3 Cubs knew which one to attack. They moved like parts of one body, coordinating in ways that solo Vraliths never did. They flanked. They worked together. They even protected Kate when a drone got too close to her. The observation deck was silent. Strikefast stood with his mandibles hanging open. Dr. Krell was recording everything frantically. Captain Quinn smiled and shook her head in amazement. Impossible, Strikefast whispered. They should not be able to do that. But they did, Dr. Krell said. Because Kate did not try to dominate them. She partnered with them. She made them want to cooperate. After the simulation, Kate sat with the Cubs while they rested. They were tired but happy, their eyes half closed in contentment. She could feel their satisfaction. They had done well, and they knew it. Admiral Cortez arrived that evening to watch the recording. He stood in the observation room, watching the video of Kate and the Cubs working together. He played it 3 times, studying every moment. This changes everything, he finally said. If she can do this with one species, if she can add more species and make them all work together, we have just created something the Coalition has never had before. A unified combat beast unit, Commander Vex said. Multiple species working as one. No military in the galaxy has achieved this. When do we expand the program? Cortez asked. Next week, Dr. Krell answered. We have already selected the next candidates. Thermal Seekers, a pair of reptilian predators that hunt using heat signatures. Then Morcaths, the pack beasts. If Kate can integrate different species, that will prove the concept fully. Kate heard about this during a meeting with her team. The idea of adding more animals excited and scared her at the same time. The Cubs had been relatively easy. They were young and had no strong habits. Adult animals from other species might not respond the same way. What if I cannot connect with them? Kate asked. What if my ability only works with certain species? Captain Quinn put a hand on her shoulder. Then we learn that and adjust. But Kate, you have already done what everyone said was impossible. Trust in what you have learned. The Thermal Seekers arrived 3 days later. They were beautiful and deadly. Long bodies covered in scales that shifted from red to orange to yellow, eyes that saw heat instead of light, teeth that injected venom. They had killed 7 handlers on their homeworld before being captured for study. Kate entered their enclosure alone, despite the protests from security. The 2 Seekers raised their heads, tasting the air with forked tongues. They could see her body heat, the warmth of her blood. To them, she probably looked like a walking meal. She did what felt right. She sat down and made herself small. She slowed her breathing, cooling her body temperature slightly. She looked at them without challenge or fear. I know you are far from home, she said quietly. I know this place is strange and cold. But you are safe here. Nobody will hurt you. The larger Seeker moved closer, studying her. Its head swayed back and forth, reading her heat signature. Then it did something that made the watching scientists gasp. It curled up next to her, resting its head on the ground. The second one followed. Kate named them Ember and Ash. Within a week, they were working with the Vralith Cubs. The species should have been enemies. Thermal Seekers hunted anything warm. Vraliths were aggressive toward anything reptilian. But under Kate's guidance, they learned to tolerate each other, then to cooperate. Strikefast finally admitted defeat. I do not understand it, but I cannot deny the results. She is doing what should be impossible. The creche have entire libraries of training techniques developed over thousands of years. She ignores all of it and succeeds anyway. Because she is not training them, Dr. Krell explained again. She is showing them a new way to exist. A way where cooperation brings benefits, where trust is rewarded, where they can be what they are, predators, but with purpose and direction. By the end of the second month, Kate's roster had expanded to include 8 different creatures. The Vralith cubs were nearly full-grown now. Ember and Ash hunted in perfect coordination with them. The briefing room was full when Kate arrived. Admiral Cortez stood at the front near a holographic display. Captain Quinn was already there, along with Commander Vex and several officers Kate did not recognize. One of them wore the uniform of a Marine combat officer, a human named Captain Ryan Brooks. "Specialist Morrison, thank you for coming," Cortez said. "We have a situation on the frontier world of Keswick 4. A coalition research station has gone dark. All communications are dead. Initial scans show the facility is intact, but nobody is responding." He pulled up images of the station. It was small, just a cluster of buildings surrounded by dense forest. The station was doing classified weapons research. "If hostile forces have taken it, we need to respond immediately." Captain Brooks stepped forward. "I will be leading the ground team. 12 Marines, fast insertion and extraction. But Admiral Cortez suggested we bring specialist support." He looked at Kate with obvious doubt in his eyes. "I have seen your demonstrations. Very impressive. But this is real combat against thinking enemies. Are you sure your animals can handle that?" Kate kept her voice steady. "They are not animals, Captain. They are predators, and yes, they can handle it." "We will see," Brooks said, though his tone suggested he did not believe her. The mission would launch in 6 hours. Kate had to choose which creatures to bring. She could not take all 8. The dropship had limited space, and too many predators might cause problems in the tight confines of a spacecraft. She chose carefully. Shadowstorm and Ghost would come. The 3 Vraliths were her most experienced units and worked together perfectly. Whisper would provide aerial reconnaissance. Stone and 3 of his Morcath pack would give them heavy assault capability if needed. 8 predators total plus her and 12 Marines. Dr. Krell found Kate in the preparation bay as she was checking equipment. "I wish I could come with you," the Velaran scientist said. "But my tank is not rated for combat operations." "You have done enough," Kate said. "You helped me understand what I could do. Now I have to prove it works outside controlled conditions." "Kate, be careful. Training scenarios do not shoot back. Real enemies do. Your creatures are tough, but they are not invincible." "I know," Kate said quietly. She was scared, though she tried not to show it. This was different from demonstrations. People could die. Her creatures could die. She could die. The dropship flight to Keswick 4 took 4 hours. Kate sat in the cargo bay with her predators. The Marines stayed toward the front, keeping their distance. They kept looking at the creatures nervously, especially when Shadow yawned and showed all his teeth. Captain Brooks came back during the flight. "I need to know something, Specialist. If things go bad, if your creatures lose control, what do I do?" "They will not lose control," Kate said, "but if they do..." Kate looked at Shadow, who was resting with his head on her lap. "If they lose control, Captain, it means I am already dead. They protect me first. That is how we work." Brooks did not look reassured, but he nodded and returned to the front. The dropship landed a kilometer from the research station. The forest was thick and humid, with strange plants that glowed faintly in the dim light. Kate released her predators and they fanned out naturally, taking positions around the Marines. The approach was silent. Kate's creatures moved through the forest like shadows. The Marines followed, impressed despite themselves. These predators had no training in military tactics, but they understood stealth instinctively. The research station appeared through the trees. The outer defenses were destroyed, confirming what they feared. Someone had attacked this place, but there were no bodies, no signs of fighting beyond the broken defenses. Kate held up her fist, the signal for stop. The Marines froze. Her predators went still. Something was wrong. She could feel it, a tension in the air that made her skin crawl. Then Whisper's cry split the air, a warning cry. Danger from above. Gunships burst from concealment, having waited in ambush. Plasma fire erupted from multiple positions. The Marines dove for cover, returning fire. They were pinned down before the fight even started. This was a trap. The Ravagers had known a rescue team would come. They had prepared for it. Kate did not freeze. She did not panic. She did what she had trained to do. She gave her predators one word: hunt. Shadow, Storm, and Ghost exploded into motion. They moved in patterns that made no sense to human military tactics but worked perfectly for predators. They zigzagged, making themselves hard to hit. They used the terrain, disappearing into shadows and reappearing from unexpected angles. Storm hit the first enemy position like a missile. Her claws tore through light armor. The Ravager soldiers scattered, their formation breaking. Shadow flanked from the left, his cautious nature making him patient. He waited for the perfect moment, then struck with deadly precision. Ghost found a hidden route through the chaos. He was smaller than the others, faster and more clever. He got behind enemy lines and attacked their communications equipment, cutting them off from reinforcements. The Morcath pack charged straight into the heaviest fire. Stone took a plasma bolt to his shoulder but barely slowed. The armor plating on his back deflected another shot. His pack followed his lead, their combined mass and power scattering the enemy like leaves. And Whisper, beautiful and deadly, dove from above. She struck at exposed weapon systems and communications arrays. Every dive was precise, taking out specific targets that Kate identified. Kate moved with them, her awareness split between 8 different beings. She felt Shadow's satisfaction when he made a successful strike. She felt Storm's fierce joy in the hunt. She felt Ghost's clever pleasure at outsmarting opponents. She coordinated them all while staying aware of the Marines' positions, making sure her predators never attacked friendlies. Captain Brooks, firing from behind cover, watched in amazement. These creatures were not fighting like animals. They were fighting like soldiers but with animal instincts. They flanked, they coordinated. They even protected Marines who got caught in bad positions. The Ravagers could not adapt. Their tactical computers were designed for predictable enemies. They could not handle creatures that fought with animal instinct guided by human intelligence. Within minutes, the ambush collapsed. The surviving Ravagers retreated into the forest, leaving behind disabled equipment and several wounded. "Move on the station," Brooks ordered. The Marines advanced with Kate's predators, forming a protective perimeter. They found the research staff barricaded in a secure bunker. 47 people alive but terrified. The Ravagers had breached the outer facility, but had not broken through the final defenses. Kate's arrival had stopped them before they could complete their mission. During extraction, Brooks approached Kate. She was checking Stone's wound. The Morcath had a burn across his shoulder, but it was not serious. He was letting her examine it with complete trust. "I owe you an apology, Specialist," Brooks said. "I thought this Predator program was publicity. Something to make the Coalition feel good about accepting humans. I was wrong." Kate looked up from Stone's wound. "They are not weapons, Captain. They are partners. That is what makes this work. Whatever you want to call them, they saved our lives today. My Marines are alive because of you and your predators." The flight back to Station Valeria was quieter than the flight out. The Marines looked at Kate's creatures differently now. No longer as dangerous animals that might lose control, but as fellow soldiers who had fought beside them. Kate sat in the cargo bay with Shadow's head in her lap. The big Vralith was tired but content. They had done well. They had proven themselves in real combat, not just training scenarios. The mission report spread through Coalition Command faster than Kate expected. Within hours, everyone knew that the Predator program had succeeded in actual combat. Requests started coming in from various military branches, all wanting similar units. But Kate stood firm when they asked her to train more handlers. "This is not something you can mass produce," she told the assembled officers during the debriefing. "It is not about training techniques. It is about connection, about understanding, about respect between species." Admiral Cortez, watching the combat footage for the 3rd time, finally understood. "You are right, but what you have proven is more important than a tactical advantage. You have shown that humans bring something unique to the Coalition, not better weapons, not superior technology, but a different way of seeing things, of connecting with others." 3 months later, Kate stood in a ceremony hall. The room was filled with representatives from across the Coalition. Commander Vex was at the podium, speaking about partnership and cooperation and new ways of thinking. Kate received her commendation, but her eyes kept drifting to the back of the hall. Shadow, Storm, and Ghost waited there, watching her with their amber eyes. They had come a long way together. From that first moment when scared cubs had lowered themselves at her feet, to combat missions where they fought as true partners. After the ceremony, Dr. Krell found Kate in the observation room. The Valoran scientist floated in her tank, her tentacles moving slowly. "What you have done will change the coalition," Dr. Krell said. "Not just military tactics, but how we think about other species. You have shown us that understanding works better than domination." Kate watched Shadow through the glass. He looked back at her and made